$4.10, what is 90 Czech crowns. Good looking, effective against wind noise even with strong wind blowing, sounding great, easy to make, and less stressful for wives or girlfriends. It shall be said right at the beginning, I don't do professional field recordings. I go and collect sounds outside of my studio from time to time. I mainly use these sounds for granular experiments, sometimes even for compositions which contain aspects of musique concrète. That's it, not more. I use a Zoom H5 recorder with the standard XY stereo microphones, which are shipped with the Zoom H5. The quality of the recorded sounds is absolutely sufficient for the above-mentioned purposes. There is only one problem, and it is a big problem: wind noise. The small windscreen which is shipped with the Zoom H5 doesn't really help a lot. And because I don't like spending money for things I don't use that much, and because I love solving problems with my own hands, and because I thought to learn a bit about the matter, I decided to build a cheap but really efficient and useful windscreen myself. I was inspired by pictures of those huge dead cat microphone windshields. They looked so terribly professional that everybody walking by automatically falls silent and walks devoutly in long, carefully set steps along my tripod with the Zoom H5. Well, I thought so at least. Anyway, I wanted something fluffy with long hairs. I'm still talking about a windshield. I tried a couple of materials and combinations of different materials in single layers as well as in constructions of many layers. Always with quite poor results. Sometimes there was still a lot of wind noise, sometimes the wind noise was gone, unfortunately together with all frequencies above 1 kHz. My wife got skeptical every time when I took another sweater or another shirt out of the wardrobe, telling her I needed it for my microphone and assuring her I won't at all do any harm to the clothes I was taking. And then, when she caught me while I was taking down the curtain from one of our windows, I had read something about layers of gauze as windshields. She gave me a definite stop. Well, fortunately, while reading an article about room acoustics, I came upon a small note about room-in-room concepts and things like that. Some may call it meaningful that I was reading about room acoustics while sitting on the toilet, but okay, back to the matter of this video. This room-in-room thing brought me to the idea the microphones of my Zoom recorder may need some air to breathe, some room around them, some distance between the microphone cartridge and the windshield. This, plus the chance to have a short glimpse into, meaning at the inner side of, a professional and expensive windshield, led to the successful construction I'm going to describe, show and test now. I used the following material: some remnants of small and thin wooden latches, a piece of gauze from a curtain I bought on a yard sale, a piece from a fluffy and hairy children's sweater which I bought on the same yard sale, a piece of foamed hard polystyrene from an old packaging, a bit of adhesive tape, some drops of glue, and a wife who is admirably skilled in sewing. She didn't want me to take a photo, so I tried to paint her, but I can tell you, my painting doesn't do her justice. First, I cut out a cuboid from the polystyrene and cut a square hole in it, tightly fitting for the Zoom recorder. I used a scalpel for that, but any other sharp knife would also serve well. Please take care that the number of fingers which you have left after the cutting of the hole is still sufficient to hold the recorder afterwards. Then I cut the latch into pieces, 4 pieces of 13 centimeters length and 2 pieces of 10 centimeter. These 2 pieces may be longer depending on the size of the polystyrene block you have cut. I cut 4 very small slits into the block, each at every corner, and stuck the 4 longer pieces 3 centimeters deep into the polystyrene so that 10 centimeters of them look out of the block. The 2 smaller latches I used to connect the upper ends of the 2 latches which are furthest from each other, and wrapped some tape around the bottom of the construction to make the construction stable. The small additional pieces of polystyrene I inserted at the smaller sides of the block between the latches are not necessary. The construction is stable enough even without them, given the slits you have cut are really tight enough. I removed them later. So far for the skeleton of my windshield. Now for the textile. I decided to have 2 layers, one inner layer of gauze and a second layer made from the hairy sweater. Some experiments showed that the windshield works more efficient when both layers are not that tight together. Therefore I asked my wife to stitch them together only at one spot so that I can clad the construction with the coat from gauze and then, quite loose, with the coat made from the sweater. And so my wife started sewing. And after a short while I could declare my new windscreen finished. I was eager to learn how it worked now. Took my scooter, my famous yellow Lightning, my camera, my Zoom H5, and my new windscreen and went out for hunting. By the way, people in my little country, the Czech Republic, are not used to seeing a father of 5 daughters and grandfather of 9 grandchildren using this kind of transport, and so it's always delightful to see the faces of the people change when I fly by having diverse equipment buckled on my back. And with that said, I have reached the third and last part of today's video, the tests. The first place I recorded was a motorway, a bit outside the city. Here are the examples without first, and then with the windscreen. And, as you can clearly hear, the windscreen blocks the wind noise completely. The next place is a quite famous river, the Orge, with the motorway behind me. And again, success. No wind noise with my new fluffy windshield. The last place I tested my windscreen at is a small industrial zone during noon. No so much noise there. I went there hoping for a more prominent disturbing wind. At least now it is clear. I have made a very good windshield, well, at least concerning getting rid of disturbing wind noise. It is time for another kind of test. I want to know how much brilliance, how much of the upper part of the spectrum I lose when I use my new windscreen. I recorded white noise and some frequency sweeps in my DAW, played them back and recorded them, first without and then with my windshield, and here are the results. The upper spectrum shows the recording without the windshield, and the lower one shows the recording with the windshield. Even this rough first walkthrough shows that my windscreen doesn't dim the high frequencies that much. It works surprisingly neutral and lets the sound pass quite unchanged. But let's listen to both recordings one after the other and part by part before I go into some details of the spectrum. A more detailed look at the spectrum shows that with the noise the most remarkable differences are between 2500 and 7000 Hz. The little dent in the spectrum makes the sound a bit more hollow than it really is. And, as we could have expected, it is the same situation with the spectra of the frequency sweeps. One example shall be sufficient here. With very high frequencies, we can see some more differences at around 8 kHz and higher. But all in all, I'm quite happy about my new creation and will definitely try to make it even better concerning the spectrum. Well, that's it for today. Have a great time. Thank you for watching, of course. Enjoy your life. Rolf.